What's up, everyone? How we all doing? Welcome to the second episode of Fantasy Football Talk with me, Big Country. Today's episode, we're going to talk about three teams you're going to want to target while drafting in your fantasy football leagues this season. Before we get into those, we will do little notes and takeaways from this this final preseason week. Some news from around the league that happened earlier today and over the weekend, so we can we'll get into a little bit of that to start. But if you are new here, make sure you hit that sub button, give it a thumbs up, turn that bell on so you get notifications every time that we do go live, so you won't miss one of these. And you can ask the questions right in the chat if you have any before your drafts, if you are drafting this upcoming weekend. Excuse me, or you did draft this past weekend and maybe you did draft J.K. Dobbins and now you need somebody to replace him, or what you need to do with him on your roster. So keep an eye. We'll get into that in a little bit. So excuse me, allergies, getting that time of year. But as I just mentioned, J.K. Dobbins is done for the year. He did tear his ACL on a non-contact injury at the preseason game on Saturday night. The Baltimore Ravens did go on to win their 20th straight preseason game, which I think, pretty sure it's a team and league record, if I'm not mistaken. T.Y. Hilton has been injured and is going to be missing some weeks, so definitely move up Paris Campbell, Michael Pittman Jr. And your draft boards and anything like that. You're gonna see those two guys get a lot more targets and a lot more volume, with Ty being out of the lineup. Excuse me. And to kind of stick with the Indianapolis Colts, the Colts did just place Carson Wentz, center Ryan Kelly, and wide receiver Zach Pascal on the reserve COVID-19 list. So that means they are going to have to be away from the facility for 5 days, pending positive or negative COVID tests. So we all, Carson Wentz did just come back from that ankle surgery, and now he's going to have another hiccup and is getting ready for week 1. So that's kind of something to keep an eye on. I think they still want him to go week 1. If not, the backup there, Esiason, I forget how you pronounce his name, will probably end up getting this week 1. I don't know if Wentz will be ready. So maybe Wentz will drop in your drafts a little bit because of this. If he's a quarterback that you are targeting and you do want on your team, just kind of keep an eye out for that. He probably will miss week 1, potentially week 2, but probably at this rate, we're seeing that he's going to be missing at least 5 days of practices with the team. After already missing the majority of the preseason, he's probably not going to be ready for week 1. And Evan Ingram also got hurt last night. If you guys did watch my last episode of the 3 teams to avoid, this was one of the reasons why I avoided the New York Giants and Evan Ingram, because dude can't stay on the field, and he hasn't really proved anything in the last couple seasons. So he did get hurt. I don't know the severity of his injury, but he is hurt, and he probably going to miss some time. To go back to the J.K. Dobbins injury, it looks like Tyson Williams is going to be the Ravens' number 2 running back. There was some reports that Todd Gurley, they might go pick him up. Todd Gurley did meet with the Ravens back in June, I believe it was. But it looks like the Ravens aren't going to bring Gurley in, and they're going to have Tyson Williams be the RB2 behind the Gus Bus. So if you guys did end up drafting Gus Edwards late in your drafts, good for you. Congrats. You just got yourself a a number one running back. He would probably, RB2, RB3, but he will be the number one running back on the Ravens now that J.K. Dobbins is done for the year. All right, so now let's get into... Yo, Jeremy, no, just live on YouTube for the fantasy football stuff. Just on YouTube for the fantasy football. This channel is going to pretty much go completely fantasy football here. All right, before we get into the three teams to kind of avoid while you're drafting this year. Three teams that I'm targeting. That was the last episode. Number one is the Dallas Cowboys. I want every single piece of the Cowboys that I could get. Ezekiel Elliott's going to have a bounce back year. Thoughts on Cook or Henry? Cons and pros? Okay, we can get into that. I want every piece of Zeke. Zeke's going to eat this year. They're saying Dak Prescott's ready to go week one, so that's good. And if Dak can kind of continue the trend that he was on last season, that will be huge, as he was on pace to break pretty much every passing record there was. And if he's going to be back to his old self like that, CeeDee Lamb, Michael Gallup, Amari Cooper, I want all of them. I want a piece of all of them. Obviously, CeeDee's going number one. He's the number one wide receiver. He's going in probably the third to fourth rounds. Zeke's obviously the first round, early first. Then I would really, if you can get Dak Prescott like 7th, 8th, 9th round, if you can get Dak in the 9th, that's a steal. Absolute steal. And then you can look for a Gallup. Gallup would probably be the third wide receiver you would want to pick. I'd go CeeDee Lamb, Cooper, and then Gallup. So I think Cooper's ADP is kind of right around, I want to say like the 9th, 10th round maybe a little sooner than that. But number one on my list is the Dallas Cowboys. I want every single piece of that. I will answer Jeremy's question right now. Thoughts on Cook or Henry before we get into the other two teams. For me personally, depending on, in a standard league, I have Derrick Henry slightly above Dalvin Cook. In a half-point PPR or full-point PPR, I have Cook ahead of Henry, mainly because Cook does catch more balls out of the backfield than Henry does. And if you're just on that aspect alone, not too much. But I think Henry could get up to 20 touchdowns this year. They're not going to be stacking the box as much against him this year because you are going to have the threat of Julio Jones and A.J. Brown on the outside. And you're going to need to at least double coverage one of them, if not both of them, which will open up that box inside, which will allow more targets for Anthony Ferkshire, the tight end. And I think Raymond is the third wide receiver right now, who's probably going to be their slot receiver. So you're going to kind of see the Titans open up, their offense be open up a little more, which is going to give Derrick Henry more room to run. And if anybody has watched Derrick Henry over the last couple of years, once he gets moving, you're not bringing him down. We've seen him just throw full-grown NFL men out of stadiums. So, but if I had to choose, I would go Derrick Henry. And Dalvin Cook, I've had Dalvin Cook the last 2 years in my leagues. He tends to get injured towards the end of the season, and now they're adding an additional game. Unless the Vikings kind of limit his workload a little bit less to keep him healthier, then he'll be a good pick. I mean, they're both good picks. They're both top 3 running backs for me right now. They both are kind of in the same situation. Minnesota isn't really going to have too many teams stacking the box against them with Justin Jefferson and Adam Thielen on the outside. Um, what's his name? Irv Smith getting hurt kind of puts a damper on their offensive scheme a little bit. They do have that rookie tight end that they just drafted, who they're is supposed to be a younger replacement of Kyle Rudolph. So hopefully he can kind of step in and be able to continue to open up that offense for Minnesota. But he's not. But he wouldn't be fantasy relevant. So the Vikings did improve their O-line. Vikings always had a decent O-line. And Tennessee's O-line is healthy. That was another big thing. A lot of people were kind of down on Derrick Henry to start the season last year, but his offensive line got so depleted with Taylor Lewan, and their entire left side was injured. It just with them stacking the box and going up against backup offensive lineman, it didn't really allow Derrick Henry to kind of get out of the box quick enough. But once you saw that O-line get healthier, you just saw the Derrick Henry's improvement in the in his run game, especially once winter is coming, the king will run. So it's a tough pick. You can't go wrong either way. So if you have that choice between Derrick Henry or Dalvin Cook, I mean, it's more your preference. Who are you going to be more excited to watch all season? Derrick Henry or Dalvin Cook? I mean, they're both exciting players, and it's going to be fun to watch them both. So, they too will focus on stopping Henry since he's the key to the Titans' success. Yeah, I agree, but if that's the case, if they're focusing on stopping Henry, you're gonna be able to beat any defense over the top with AJ and Julio. I mean, especially if they're both getting to being healthy, which it sounds like the Titans have been kind of not working them too much in the preseason to get them to be healthy. They're just going to burn them over the top every time. Honestly, I don't even have the Titans on my list of 3 teams that I would target, but they would be an honorable mention that I would 100%. I 100% want Derrick Henry. Clearly, as you can see, I have a Derrick Henry jersey hanging right above me. I think Ryan Tannehill is going to have a big year. He's going to put up some big numbers. Probably like 30 to 40 touchdowns, if I would guess. I'd say probably Ryan Tannehill will probably throw for 30 touchdowns this year. And then with Julio and AJ Brown on the outside, just spreading that defense. Keep an eye on the Titans depth chart and see who they got as their slot receiver. He could potentially be a sneaky late round pick. He might be, especially in a PPR, for full PPR league, he might get a lot of reception. So keep an eye out on that. I'll have to, for the next episode tomorrow, I'll have to take a look and see who, because as we go live tomorrow, all the teams do have to put in they have to get down to the 53-man roster, so we'll have a better idea of who is going to be where. How do you feel about Aaron Rodgers? Well, we'll get into that right now. My number 2 team on my teams to target when drafting this year is the Green Bay Packers, and the number 1 person on that team is Aaron Rodgers. I think Aaron Rodgers is going to have a better season this year than he did last year, and he's going to throw for 50 touchdowns this year. He threw for 48, I want to say 47 last season. I think Aaron Rodgers is going to throw for 50 touchdowns this season. Aaron Jones, if I am drafting late in any of my drafts, I would be praying that Aaron Jones falls to me at that point. If not, I am targeting A.J. Dillon late in the year. He's not going to have as heavy as a workload as like Jamal Williams did last year, but he is going to be used. He's going to be schemed into that offense. Devontae Adams, in my opinion, he's the number 1 wide receiver in the NFL over Tyreek. If he could get him, I honestly, if you could stack Devontae Adams and Aaron Jones on your team as like a 12, 13, like at that, or 11, 14 picks, like that would be great. That'd be a huge pickup. What's up, Matt? How you doing? I got your team on the thumbnail. That was actually the last episode's thumbnail. I gotta change that. I didn't have time to put the new one up yet. So, and then now Aaron Rodgers has got his boy Cobb back. And then MVS. MVS is a great late round target. Honestly, not even too late. Like, I would say he could be a great wide receiver 3 on your team. Low end wide receiver 2, high end wide receiver 3. There's been a lot of positive feedback coming about MVS coming out of this this training camp and this preseason. So he's definitely a player that I would target later. No, again, as a wide receiver 2, wide receiver 3. You're a Texans fan? Yeah, go back and watch episode 1 and you kind of get a feel of my take on the Texans for this season. They're in a world of hurt. So the number 2 team on my list is the Green Bay Packers. Even Robert Tonyan, I think Robert Tonyan is going to have another good season. I mean, if I'm predicting Aaron Rodgers to throw 50 touchdowns, all 50 touchdowns aren't going to go to Devontae Adams. He's going to spread that out between A.J. Dillon, Aaron Jones, Robert Tonyan, Randall Cobb, MVS. Like, you're going to see that ball moved all over that field. Aaron Rodgers is going to pick apart defenses like you've never seen before. Actually, you know what? Aaron Rodgers is going to have a offensive year like Tom Brady did this season that he had Randy Moss and he threw for 50 touchdowns. So I mark it here right now. Aaron Rodgers, 50 touchdowns. Another back-to-back MVP seasons. Before we get into the third team, guys, make sure you hit that sub button if you are new to the channel. Give it a thumbs up. Turn that bell on so you get notifications every time we do go live. We're going to be trying to do this every day at 4:30 Eastern time. Once we do hit 1,000 followers, I will make sure that I do this every day at 4:30 Eastern time, whether it is from this setup here or I do it from my mobile phone or where I'm at. But unfortunately, I cannot do it from my mobile phone until I hit 1,000 subscribers. So if you guys could sub, that'd be great. Because I tried on Friday, I got out of work late. I tried to do it on my phone and it wouldn't let me. So, and then I found out why. So appreciate you guys, everyone who is here right now. I appreciate you being here. So the number 3 team on my list is the Seattle Seahawks. Even though Russell Wilson came out of the gun firing last year, he had one of the best fantasy productive seasons for the first half of the year, and then he just fell off. I think Seattle is going to be focusing a lot more on their run game this year, which is going to be great for Chris Carson. Chris Carson's a good RB2. If you can get him in like that dead round from like rounds like middle of round 2 to like middle of round 5, he should be kind of falling somewhere in there. If you can get Chris Carson as your RB2, that would be a good pickup. I think he's going to have a big year. DK Metcalf is just a human like no other human you've seen. And he said that his weakest part of his game was contested catches. So he worked all offseason on contested catches. So he is ready to play. He is ready to rip the ball away from everyone. So, and then Tyler Lockett is sneaky fantasy good year in, year out. He always ends up being a top 24 wide receiver. He's a great wide receiver too for your team. I mean, Seattle has now Gerald Everett as tight end, along with Will Dissly. So they're going to be running a 2 tight end scheme with, they have a lot of options and a lot of spots to move the ball around the field, which is going to be good for Russell Wilson. And Russell Wilson can run. He can run with the ball. He does get some rushing touchdowns, so that is going to help also. I just like everything that Seattle has been working on this offseason, what they want to implement into their game this year. I think Seattle's going to put up a lot of points. Their defense is still pretty solid. It's not the Legion of Boom that it was, 5 years ago, but they're still a good team. So keep an eye on the Seattle players. If you can get them at value, I think DK is going early second round. Tyler Lockett probably like 6th, 7th round. Russell Wilson's probably right around there too. I got Dak rated a little bit ahead of Russell. So you might, Russell's probably going 7 through 9, somewhere around that range. So if you guys can, keep an eye out there. Gerald Everett would be a good late round tight end pickup. And as I mentioned, Chris Carson's kind of going in that dead zone, like middle of the 2nd to middle of the 5th. So keep an eye out on those. Those are some plays definitely to look at. Those are the 3 teams that I'm like heavily invested in this year. I really want a piece of one of them. I want at least a piece from each one of those teams on my fantasy team this year. But those, and then my honorable mention, as I mentioned earlier, the Tennessee Titans, another team that I want a piece of. Ryan Tannehill, I think he's going to have a good year. Again, A.J. Brown, Julio Jones, they could definitely spread the field. And then King Henry is he's the king. That's why they call him the king. Big on Carson and Metcalf as well this year. Yeah, I think they're going to both have big years. I feel like T-Lock has a few big games, but on average runs cooler because of their offensive structure. He does. He has those boom games, and then he has those bust games. But, like, at the end of the year, he ends up leveling out to a wide receiver too, which is exactly what he is on the Seattle offense, is a wide receiver too. Who do you like better, Herbert or Dak? Both have so many weapons. I think you're going to see a little bit of regression from Herbert this year. Teams have now been able to see a full season of him. You're probably going to see a little bit of a sophomore slump coming out of Herbert. Not too bad. I still think he's going to be a top quarterback. I can't remember exactly where I have him ranked. I think I might have him ranked right around 10, 11 right now. But he's still going to be a good quarterback. I like Dak. I do have Dak ranked higher than Herbert. I would much more target Dak over Herbert, but I think Dak is going to have a better season than Herbert is. Thoughts on Cleveland after last year's great run? Yeah, Cleveland played very well. I mean, they got that. They're definitely going to be another team that's run heavy with Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt. You're going to see Jarvis Landry is probably the 1. Odell is the 2. And to be completely honest with you, what everyone's saying and coming out of the Cleveland camp right now is Peoples-Jones is going to be the 3. T. Higgins is going to kind of be the 4, and more of like a widespread offense. And then they still got I can't remember who their tight end is. They don't have Njoku there anymore. I can't remember who their tight ends in Cleveland are currently. But wide receivers, they still got Landry. They still got Odell. Hopefully Odell's more healthier. And then Peoples-Jones has kind of taken that step over Higgins this year. I would agree. I just think there's concern after Dak's ankle injury. But see that Dak hasn't had any setbacks with his ankle this year. Hooper. Oh, that's right. Hooper is the tight end there now. Yeah, actually, honestly, I think Austin Hooper is going to have a bounce back year this year. He didn't do too well last season, but I think he's going to have a better year this year. They have a lot of good targets to throw to. I just don't think that Cleveland has a number 1 wide receiver on their team. They have a couple 2s and a couple 3s wide receivers. And then Hooper is a late round tight end. Obviously, Nick Chubb is an RB1. Hunt is like RB3. Like maybe like a solid flex player on your team. If you did want to match Chubb and Hunt together on your team, you could run that. Just in case if Chubb did get hurt, Hunt would be the number one. At that point, if Chubb did get Hunt, I think Hunt would move up to more of an RB2 rather than an RB1. So, but to go back to Dak, I think Dak's ankle injury hasn't really been a setback. It's been more of a shoulder injury for him this preseason. And they're kind of calling it more like a baseball injury rather than a football injury. It's more of him not using his shoulder while he was rehabbing his ankle, kind of made him more so when he did try to go and throw the ball like he normally does, it's like a pitcher that doesn't throw all off season, then comes in and tries to throw like 100 miles an hour and he just junks something up in his shoulder. Do you like Logan Thomas or TJ Hawkinson better this year for a mid-round tight end? Honestly, I like Logan Thomas over TJ Hawkinson this year. I think TJ Hawkinson's the only target in Detroit, and every team's going to know that. Every team's going to know that he is the only target, and he's going to be the only one to get the ball. They just released Brashad Perryman. They have... oh my god, I'm drawing a blank on the guy. They have Williams. They have... the other kid... I think his name's People Jones. Not People Jones. It's something like Anna Jones or something like that. I mean, they do have two running backs, wide receivers, but Williams always gets hurt. And then DeAndre Swift is hurt again. He had a groin injury. Now he's got an abdominal injury. So I'm not even confident that he's going to even start week 1. I mean, if I had to, honestly, to tell you the truth, if I had to do an honorable mention for a fourth team to stay away from when drafting, the Detroit Lions would be that team. I do not want Jared Goff. I don't want any part of DeAndre Swift. Maybe Jamal Williams late. If he fell to me in the 10th round, maybe I would go Jamal Williams. I don't want any part of that wide receiving core. That team is going to be a mess. That offensive line is not good. That team is going to be ugly to watch this year. It's going to be very ugly to watch. So I would definitely go Logan Thomas over TJ Hawkinson. I think Ryan Fitzpatrick generally likes to target his tight ends a little more, or likes to lean on them as kind of a safety blanket. So I think Ryan Fitzpatrick handles the ball a little bit better than Jared Goff as well. And that Washington football team offense does have McLaurin and Samuel on the outside, which, again, another team that opens up the offense, which allows, the tight ends to kind of find those soft spot and kind of get those junk yards. So if you're looking more of a standard, I think no matter what format you're playing in, I would take Logan Thomas over TJ Hawkinson this year. Not by much, though. I think I have Logan Thomas a little bit higher than Hawkinson, but not by much. If Hawkinson fell to me, he's kind of that tier 2 tight end for me. If he kind of fell around the 4th, 5th round, I'd probably pick up Hawkinson, but I don't think I would definitely not reach for him. I would reach for Logan Thomas before I would reach for Hawkinson. Tyler Higbee. What about Higbee? So guys, tomorrow's stream, we're actually going to do a mock draft live on stream. Thoughts on production? He's still in LA, right? I think he's going to have, now that Everett's not there anymore, he'll probably be, he's not going to be sharing the he's not going to be sharing the workload with Everett anymore. So, and I think he was kind of the Rams tight end that they wanted to see a future with. So I think you're going to see an uptick in production out of him this season. Definitely he'll have a better year this year than he did last year. So I think he's a good late round pickup. I mean, they still have Robert Woods and Cooper Kupp there. So he'd be the third, fourth target. Probably fourth target, I'd have to say. You'd probably be Woods 1, Kupp 2, probably Henderson or Sony Michel coming out of the backfields 3, and then Everett 4, and I can't remember the slot receiver. Well, Woods is the slot receiver, but the other outside receiver for the Rams, he would probably be like number 5. Because generally, you'll probably see a lot of, 2 tight end set or 1 tight end. You're gonna see a lot of Everett, Kupp, and Woods on the field. Nah, the third guy. Woods is the slot receiver. Kupp is one of the actually, they're kind of all technically slot receivers. They all kind of, work in and out. So, but tomorrow we'll do a live mock draft. Kind of get myself ready for this upcoming weekend for one of my big drafts. This is one that, Jeremy, you're in, so you might want to be here for this tomorrow. I'm going to kind of go through and set it up with the keepers that I think are where my guess on who's going to keep what and where. So it'll be probably a good practice run for you. And honestly, actually, Jeremy, if you want to kind of get in on the mock draft with me, you can. I can set it up so we can both mock draft it together. We will be using Sleeper, not an ad. Hopefully one day. Hey, so Sleeper, if you're watching this, let's do a sponsorship. But I appreciate every single one of you guys coming in here today, asking the questions. This is what I want to do this for. I do want to answer your questions and give some insight on this upcoming fantasy football season, and hopefully help you guys win your fantasy leagues. If you aren't part of my Discord yet, make sure you guys join the Discord. There is a fantasy football section over in the Discord. You can ask some questions in there. I'd be more than happy to help you. And if you want part of the season, if you guys want my rankings and my draft board, I'd be more than happy to send it to you guys. I put it in a PDF and send it over. I got to update it a little bit tonight after this weekend's injuries and whatnot. So if that's something you guys are looking forward to this year, I will give it out for free. So, or if you do want to donate to get it, that's completely on you. But if you would like to see what my rankings are and get a different outlook than everybody else out there, I'd be more than happy to share that. But until tomorrow, hope you all have a phenomenal rest of your Monday. We're going to try to go live at 4:30. Might be a little late tomorrow, so keep an eye on the Discord for that. I do have a TV being delivered, so I just got to make sure I'm available for that. But besides that, everybody have a great day, and we will see you all tomorrow. Have a good one.